Good day, AEP Stats students. Today we are looking at the final question of the 2016 test that we're looking at this year. Because of COVID and the reduced testing time, we won't get to do a question 6, so we're not going to look at the 2016. If you do want to see it, send me an email. I'll happily send you my answer and the question for you to peruse. So let's take a look at this question. This is a polling agency talking about an environmental study. So you've already done it. You're checking your answers now, making changes as needed. I'll point out also any key factors that you should be aware of. So the first question here was pretty simple. Construct and interpret a 95% confidence interval. Notice they said already assume the conditions for inference have been met. Okay, they'll deal with maybe the conditions in part B, but for now, assume that it's been met, we just have to construct and interpret. So I still did the state stage where I said what my parameter was. I listed my p hat, but really all I have to do to get full credit on this problem is give my interval and the name of the test. One proportion is the interval, give the interval, and then my conclusion. 95% confident that the interval 0.34 to 0.40 or 0.399 captures the true proportion of all US adults who would choose the economy statement. So how did this get stored? And actually, this was broken up into two sections of scoring. The interval itself is section 1. So if we take a look, to get an E on section 1, you had to either give the correct procedure by name, that's the one proportion Z interval, or by formula. You don't want to do the formula. Second, have the correct interval. So if you had the correct interval and the correct name, you earned an E on the section 1, which means you're already 1 out of 4 points. Now, section 2 is your conclusion. The first thing they want to know is that you estimated a proportion. Did we actually estimate a proportion in some way, shape, or form? We did. That's what our interval is. Do we make an inference about the population? That's why we always say captures the true, and then in context, the true what? Proportion of US adults who would choose the economy statement. That also covered part 4, which was the context, and I have my 95% confident. To get an E, you have to have all 4 parts of these. So if you didn't have the we are 95% confident, if you didn't have context, or make a statement about the population, you'd be down to a P on section 2. So part A was worth up to 2 points, essentially, actually a little bit more because of how this problem ends up being scored later on. Okay, part B, they then wanted to know why did we have to check the large counts condition? Now we had the ability to assume it in part A. Now they want to know why would we check it? Not can you check it, why would we check it? And the reason that we've always done the large counts condition is to make sure that our sampling distribution of p hat will be approximately normal. To get the full credit for that answer, you also have to have part C correct. In part C, they asked, could you do a 2 sample Z interval? And our answer was no. Our data came from only 1 sample. Now, from that sample, there were 2 different types of responses, but it was 1 sample of people, so I have to do a 1 sample inference procedure. Okay, so a 2 sample would not be appropriate. So how did you get credit for section 3? Section 3 was made up of parts B and C, and it required you to get both of them correct. So to get the full credit for section 3, you had to state that the sampling distribution would be normal. And for part C, you had to say, no, it's not appropriate because it came from 1 sample. Okay, so both of those parts would be required to get the E. If you only had one of them, you got a P. If both of them were missing, of course, you get an I. So the overall scoring for this to get a full 4 out of 4 was 3 E's. If you got 2 E's and a P, you're at a 3. You got 2 E's and that was it, you still got 2 points, or 1 E and 2 P's. You can see there's a lot of different ways to get 2 points, or even 1 point. Remember, when you're thinking of those of you taking the AP test in May, you can get 2 points on every question. If you get a 50%, that puts you in a position to get usually at least a 3, if not also possibly a 4. And remember that you can look back at the final exam guideline paper that I gave you to see the actual breakdown of the scores most years. Hopefully, all of this review from the 2016 test has you feeling comfortable and confident for the final exam. Make sure you send me an email if you have any questions at all that you want answered before the final. Thanks and have a great day.